God damn, this is actually so based. I respect the out of Vladi. Here we go. So these are the 2 screenshots, and people are kind of going crazy, but I think this is based. It says, I am playing for KC, but the majority of the fan base of this org is by far the worst I've seen. Facts. I would appreciate if the single-digit IQ KC fans, so the majority of them, would shut their mouths and keep their opinions for their own. I actually really like seeing somebody speak out against their own fan base, because it feels like, you know, no one actually does this, which is why they grow into being like so rabid, you know, like they harass people, they say the most ridiculous things. I mean, pretty much you can't say anything anti-KC, even critical of their play. Like, it doesn't have to be anti-KC or like anti-French, whatever. You can just say like, hey, I think KC is actually like pretty bad right now, or hey, I think KC has this issue with this play style, whatever. And you're just gonna get hundreds of KC fans, maybe not hundreds depending on your popularity, but whatever. Like you'll get at least a few KC fans coming to you and just telling you to like kill yourself and shit, which is like pathetic. And pretty much it's one of those things where if you're not indoctrinated into one of these cults, because that's pretty much how they all behave, like the T1 fans, MKOI fans, KC fans, like if you're not in one of these cults, and that's really how it feels, honestly. It just feels like a cult, because everything that is pro KC is good. You could say, hey, is there anything that you don't like about this KC player? And most fans would just be like, no, this guy is the best. I like everyone. They're all the fucking best when talking to the outsiders, but within their cult, maybe they'll have their own disagreements or whatever. This is like one of the things that I just feel like is really cringe about esports now. Like, everyone thinks that it's so good for MKOI and KC and T1 to have these like really ridiculous fan bases because it brings like hype to the esport. But I don't even literally view the KC fans or the MKOI fans or the T1 fans as actually like real fans of League. Like, I don't think that if Faker retired, or if KC dropped out of LEC and MKOI dropped out of LEC and Ibai and Kometo were like, yeah, we're done with League of Legends, we're doing something else, I don't think that these are actually fans of the esport that are going to be like, well, I started watching League, so now I'm going to keep on watching League forever. It doesn't feel like these people have much interest in the game. They just have interest in their club. So it's just one of those things where I don't care for it. I know, I guess it's good for the viewership, it's good for the viewer number, but personally, I would rather have a smaller viewer number and make less money and have people like this not exist, because I thought the space was just better in like 2020, 2021, 2022. Like, I just felt like it was a more healthy space where if you spoke up about things, people would engage with your comments in more like with more intellectual honesty. Whereas now it's just like crazies is how I feel. You tweet some shit that's anti-KC, you're just gonna have crazies in your like, you do some actual analysis of the team, you're gonna have crazy. I mean, look at what happened on that podcast with like the MKOI fans, the Euphoria podcast, where they talked about the narrative of how like MKOI ended up winning and how they weren't expecting it, and how like KC looked worse than they expected going in. The MKOI fans lost their mind. I mean, you look at the comments, it's like maybe the tone wasn't perfect, but it's actually ridiculous the way that things get brigaded now. And the result is that people are just fucking afraid. People are afraid to say what they think about KC and MKOI because they're afraid of the fan backlash. That's just what it is. People are just afraid. The casters don't want to criticize them. You know, like the casters are just tiptoeing around the fan bases, and it just makes for a worse space in general, in my opinion. And if you want to see, like, I mean, there's a couple ones that are pretty ill. There's a couple like reactions from KC fans that are pretty ill, but I think the one that happened recently that was the most ridiculous was on the LEC tier list. You guys remember this? BB handshaking Merwin. Merwin's creative LEC top laners tier list. So they're ranking based off creativity. They're talking about the creativity. Who are the most creative players to the least creative players in the league? And Kana is obviously on KC. He's in C tier because he's not that creative. He plays the meta and he plays it better than pretty much anyone else within LEC. Whereas Merwin and BB, these are the guys that are pulling out the crazy picks. You know, like BB was really early on the Gwen. I mean, this split, I think he was playing a lot of Warwick top. He was really early on the like Zac and the Rek'Sai and these picks that came out. Merwin obviously plays the Nidalee top. He's played it for a while, even from before. He was a big Nidalee top player. He was a big Varus top player. You know, he was on the Aurora train early. Like, this is just what it is. And then you just look at the fan base and you just see like a bunch of the replies. Let's see. What is this one? KC fans making fool of themselves again. Let's see. XCC, then you see all these French fans. The guy who made this post is Iron 3. Like, No, I mean, the guy who made this post is Merwin. He's challenger. He's the guy that ended up winning the league this split. Just look at all these replies. I mean, I'm not going to translate every single one, but you can just see all the fans with KC, Kana C, and under all this frauds is criminal. Just keep on scrolling. You keep on scrolling, and you just see it just goes on and on and on. Kana could play every top pick at Merwin level. Creativity doesn't rhyme with efficiency. This tier list lack of criteria and objectivity. Kana could play your Annie and your Vex, Merwin, but is it really worth it for the team? Like, well, if he doesn't, then he's not picking creative champions, right? That's all this means. It's not a big deal, but it's KC, so we gotta go crazy. We gotta go crazy. We gotta go crazy every time. And it's just, you get this, and then you had like quote retweets, and then people that quote retweeted this also got flamed. So I think Chakrez quote retweeted this. He also got flamed. And just, I said something about it, and I was like, wow, a lot of people that are responding don't know how to read. And then they got mad at me because they can't read. It was like, what? How am I getting flamed? Like, flamed. If you literally are saying Kana C tier, Merwin S tier, what the f? Like, they think that Kana's one of the worst top laners in LEC? What the f? If they're saying that, then they just can't read, which is fine, bro. We all have to learn how to read at some point, you know? We all have to learn how to read at some point. But here's another idea. If you don't speak English, right? If you don't speak English and you are somebody who's just in another portion of the fan base, just don't get involved in tier lists like that until you understand them, right? Just don't say anything and just let it be. It doesn't apply to you. If you don't speak English, it's fine. Not everyone can speak English, but you shouldn't be getting mad without understanding for no reason. So yeah, I mean, that's why everyone hates KC fans. Part 5 million.